Jimmy, to what degree did the fall game two in Houston affect how were you feeling the rest of the postseason?
Fine. Good enough to go out there and compete. We're not going to use anything as an excuse, so just didn't win.
And then how would you just contextualize how different things were throughout the course of the series without having Steph out there?
Yeah. Obviously, it's very different whenever you don't have Steph on the floor. The room and the margin for error is so much smaller. And I feel like everybody has to take on more and everybody has to play a little bit of a different role. But that's just the game. Injuries happen, but it is a lot different with Steph not out there.
How do you view just, I guess, your few months here and what the future and what this franchise can look like?
Great. A bunch of great guys that work incredibly hard, young talent that's going to be incredibly successful in this league. It's all about, staying healthy as it always is and getting more and more comfortable playing with one another.
When do you and Draymond and Steph get together and start talking about next year?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Maybe on the plane, I don't know. For sure sometime this summer. But when it happens, it will happen.
Have you seen enough? I know you played 8 playoff games with Steph.
Yeah.
Have you seen enough to really be convinced that healthy, this team is a contender?
For sure. I think we all know that. We all believe that. But like I said, injuries is part of it. Nobody wants to be injured. It's all about playing your basketball, the best basketball at the right time, and being healthy at the right time. Unfortunately, that wasn't us, and we came up short.
Jimmy, the last couple of times you've been in the playoffs, you've had to maybe carry undermanned rosters further than maybe where we projected where you guys should have been. Does this collection or group, or at least you, Steph and Draymond at the top, does that give you a little bit more optimism, maybe despite your age, despite how, tough the Western Conference is? Like, do you walk away feeling a little bit different than you have your last few playoff rounds?
Yeah. It is tough, but it's tough on both sides, West and East. And like I just said, if we're healthy, if all of this and if all of that, then it may be different. We don't know. But we're going to take our chances for sure if Steph is out there. But, we'll come back and figure this thing out, and next year do the same thing.
Jim, you guys were so close in Game 3. You had them with 6 minutes to go. You were up, and they blitzed at the end there. When you look at what they were able to do to you guys with your offense, what made them so successful defending you guys?
I don't know, maybe some physicality, making us take tough shots. But I don't think it's ever the offense. I think tonight they shot 62%. So if we can't stop guys from putting the ball into the basket, it's going to be hard either way. So I'm not going to say that our offense was a problem. Guarded 3, make them miss a little bit more.
On the other side, then, you guys had a really strong defense last few months of the regular season. What did they do to sort of take that apart?
Move the ball incredibly well, get into the paint. I don't feel like we took too much away from them. We talked about what we wanted to do. We did it in some spurts, but not the entire game, which we needed to do. So they played well. You got to give them that.
Jimmy, it feels like you guys have been going 100 miles an hour since you got here when you were traded.
What's it going to be like to have a full season with this team, and what do you think you guys can do more based on having a full season, full camp with this team?
I think it's going to be fun. A lot of great basketball to be had and to be played, and I can't wait to get to that point because I don't want to be not playing basketball.
425.
A new destination for myself, getting comfortable, working towards success, and we'll take it to the next year.
I seen an interview with him, and he just talked about how out of shape he was last year in the playoffs, and the only way you can train for something like that is kind of go through it. And I think I felt that not from being out of shape or anything like that, but everything you learn in the playoffs, you only can experience by going through the playoffs. And for me, for JK, for Moses, for Trace, all guys that are really first-timers with an extended role, you understand that it was hard, but there was also moments for each of us that we can do it and we belong. And so that gives us good confidence going into the offseason of, this is what we expect, this is what we can do. And just like anything, everybody's going to get a little bit better going into next year.
Brandin, you guys played two really good defenses, Houston, obviously, and then Minnesota here. What did this team do to your offense to sort of make it difficult to score? Because obviously there were a lot of possessions that there was shot clock violations and stuff going on.
Well, I think the difference between Minnesota and Houston was a super big, I'm going to protect the paint, we're going to make you make the extra pass, and they really tried to take Steph and Jimmy out and make others beat us. That's why you saw the big games from Buddy, saw a big game from me, saw a big game from Moses. And Minnesota essentially said, obviously it's different because Steph was out, but they said, Jimmy, you're going to score over your matchup and Rudy, and everybody else is going to kind of push out. From watching film, you guys can see yourselves, the paint is literally wide open and everybody's just kind of hugged up to their man. And so they knew that Jimmy likes to facilitate and make plays for others, and so they said, we're going to have you constantly beat us. And that's the same for whomever was, driving. They took away the three-point line. They wanted us to score over Rudy and make plays in tight spaces. And so I think that's the difference between, and I think we started to realize it tonight, that it was just going to be us and Rudy in there, and everybody else was going to fan out. So I think there's two different defenses. Each were effective in their own right. But like I said, the only way you learn from things is going through it.
You guys obviously emphasized trying to limit Ant's effectiveness tonight. You blitzed him, you threw some defenses at him, and he had 6 points at the half. Mm-hmm. You guys were down 15. When you're so effective at doing that and you're still down 15, what goes through your mind at halftime there?
Well, I think a lot of it was the things that we could control that we weren't controlling. Big emphasis was taking away the three-point line. They shot a good percentage, and I think made maybe 6 or 8 at halftime. And so if we just took those away, especially for the role guys, Conley, DiVincenzo, McDaniels, take away those kind of things early for them, it puts not a timidness in their mind, but as the game gets closer and the game gets later in the game, those shots that didn't go in early, maybe they're hesitant to shoot them, or they're rushing them because they want to make them. And so I think their role players played really well tonight to help Ant. Obviously, Ant only got up 15 shots, which is what we like, had 7 turnovers. And so I think we did a pretty good job on him, but the role players are kind of what killed us. Everybody in the starting lineup had 15 plus. So.